It's election year in the US, the presidential primaries are heating up, and so the eyes of the world are focused on what's been called the greatest democracy ever to grace God's green earth. Or is it? The Economist's 2015 Democracy Index has the good old US of A ranked 20th, behind Malta and Mauritius, among others. It's actually so far down the list, The Economist says it's bordering on being a flawed democracy. Ouch. Well, what about press freedom? Surely the US, with its First Amendment, must rank at the very top on this issue globally. Wrong again. According to the Reporters Without Borders World Press Freedom Index, the US came in 49th place last year. That's out of 180 countries. But what matters is voting, right? If you're able to, that is. A series of restrictive voting laws have prevented low-income and especially black people from casting their ballots. Even the US president, who's black, says so.
Some of the protections that had been enshrined in the Voting Rights Act itself have been weakened.
Okay, so the US isn't looking like the most shining example of a democracy. But Americans do love their free speech. So much so that even money talks. In 2010, the Supreme Court ruled that corporations could spend unlimited amounts of cash on political campaigns. Yes, free speech for corporations.
Corporations are people, my friend.
Thanks, Mitt. In fact, the 2016 race may end up with candidates having spent $5 billion trying to reach the Oval Office. Is it any wonder, then, that a joint study by Princeton and Northwestern universities in 2014 suggested that the US is not a democracy, it's an oligarchy, dominated by the rich and powerful, the 1%. Nevertheless, in a world still blighted by autocracy and dictatorship, the 240-year-old US experiment in democracy is a remarkable thing and worth fighting for. Listen again to the outgoing president.
If 99% of us voted, it wouldn't matter how much the 1% spends on our elections.
So for those of you who can vote, clearly you can see how much is at stake.